Hey loves, welcome back to the Pink Plus podcast. I hope you're having an awesome Saturday and hopefully by now starting to enjoy some warmer weather. Today I'm bringing you a special friend from my childhood who uses her TikTok account to put a face and a reality to postpartum issues like rage and depression. Conversations need to be happening with postpartum women about things like rage and irritability so we can better normalize getting help before it's too late. I hope you love this episode like I do. Please welcome Tara.
All right. So, hi, my name is Tara. I am 29. I have been married for 9 years to my husband, Michael, and we have 3 kids together. We have Callie, who is 7, Michael Jr., he will be 6 on the 9th, and then Mia will be 10 months tomorrow. So, I'm going to school right now to be a 5th grade teacher. I'm going to get my bachelor's degree in elementary education. So, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but with each kid in a different age group, it's always something. So,
Did you breastfeed all 3 of your kids?
Yes, so I did. So I breastfed all 3 of them, but I also had a different feeding experience with each of them. So I've had like every experience that you can think of. So with Callie, when she was first born, she had jaundice really bad, and they suggest you don't breastfeed. So I ended up having to formula feed for her for the first, I think it was 3 weeks until her jaundice cleared. And after it cleared, they gave me permission to breastfeed. Then I ended up pregnant with Junior. So I ended up formula feeding after that. So she was about 4 months breastfeeding. The rest of it was formula. Junior, I did both because I was working. So we did formula when he was at home with dad, and then I did breast milk. I tried to do the pumping, and that is so hard. I definitely have to commend moms who pump, because I think I was like the 3rd day in trying to pump at work and save it and then go home and pump and make sure he had enough while I was work. And I was like, forget this. Like, I'm done. We're using formula. This is so much easier. I also breastfed him the longest though. So he was 15 months old when we stopped breastfeeding him, and he just did it on his own. He just was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And he just didn't ask for it. And I would try and he would push me away. And so I was just like, okay, I guess that's it. And then Mia, 10 months tomorrow, and she's exclusively breastfed.
Okay.
So that's hard. Honestly, I know like it's like the preferred thing, you know. I hate to say, everybody says, you know, breast is best. That's so stupid. But it's so hard though. It's annoying. She's very clingy. I can't give her to anybody else. Even her dad. Like sometimes he can maybe sit with her for an hour before she's screaming because she wants me, you know. If anybody else is in the room and I'm in the room as well, forget it. She has to be my mom. So it's a lot, mainly because I don't get any alone time with her. So it's a lot. So I've had every feeding experience with the kids, and definitely by far the exclusively breastfeeding is the hardest.
When you were pumping, did you find that you were producing less milk by pumping than when you nursed directly?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, it was harder. When I was pumping, I would only get maybe an ounce or 2 on each side, and I felt like when he nursed off of me, he was able to get more for some reason, and I don't know why. Maybe the connection or something, or maybe I also thought too, maybe a lot of anxiety, because when I was at work, I was a waitress, so I didn't have like a 30-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I had, okay, one table, they're eating. I have 10-15 minutes to run to the bathroom and try to pump real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very rushed, and so it wasn't like I was calm. And so I feel like that maybe had a lot to do with it, you know, my whole mentality during it. So like I said, I only did it like 3 days though.
I feel like that's really interesting, because it seems like some women, when they pump, especially like on social media, everybody will show off like their stashes, you know, like their deep freezers full of milk because pumping just comes so naturally and all this stuff. And then some women are like, no, pumping sucks. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no. And even with Mia now, I don't pump unless I have to. And I haven't had to pump since, I don't know, maybe she was 3 months old. It's been a while since I've had to. And like I said, even then, it was only when I was extremely engorged and I needed some relief, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't have that much saved with her. But like I said, she's always on me too.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, you know, so I can't really put any away or save it because she's always eating. So
did milk production come pretty easy for you?
it did. Yes. I'm very blessed to say I am fortunate with breastfeeding. With all of my kids, it was very easy. I've never had a problem with, you know, needing to nourish or, you know, supplement with formula. It wasn't like a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
It was always something that, you know, we just ended up choosing to do because it was easier for our lifestyle.
That's something that probably comes in handy nowadays, especially with the pandemic and stuff, when everybody's like hoarding formula, or like this big recall that just happened and now there are shelves that are just bare. It's got to come in handy that you don't necessarily need the formula.
It is. It makes me very fortunate. It makes me really sad for all the formula feeding moms, you know, and me and my husband were walking through the other day and we were just getting little snacks for her, and the shelves are just bare. And it's got to be scary for formula feeding moms, like going to the store and not being able to find their type of formula. Like my niece right now, she is on a special type of formula and it's $48 a freaking can. Like, that's insane, you know? And so I can't imagine and the shame that formula feeding moms are getting too.
Yeah.
You know, I have never been shamed for using formula, thank God. But I see a lot of moms who get shamed for it, and it blows my mind.
I never got like directly shamed for it, but I felt shame for having to use it. Like, so I started producing colostrum at 6 months along, like pregnant wise, with Jameson. Mm-hmm. So I thought I was just going to be this breastfeeding queen and it was just going to come so naturally. And I never, like, my milk never really came in. Like, I had the colostrum and that was it. I would get like an ounce off of each side, and Jameson was so hungry. And being postpartum in the hospital, like the first night or the night after, like your hormones are already crazy. And then I was bawling all the time because my kid's like starving. And the nurse would come in and be like, you know, it's okay to supplement with formula. And I was just so against it at first. And then you can only take them crying for so long before you're like, do whatever you got to do. And then after he ate just a tiny bit of formula, he slept for like 6 hours. So I was like, the poor guy was so hungry, and I felt like so much shame and embarrassment for having to give him formula. And it was nothing that anybody said to me. It was like, it was all myself.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's us as mothers too. We're so hard on ourselves. You know, we try to give our babies the best. You know, we're supposed to be these women who are supposed to give birth and give birth naturally and, you know, breastfeed and, you know, and it's hard. It is hard to live up to all these expectations. And then I feel like when the world as well, you know, they want you to live up to these expectations. It's when you do have to do something like supplement with formula, or, you know, you have to be wheeled into, have an emergency C-section. It's kind of like, what's wrong with me kind of moment, but you know, that's not it at all. And it's, you know, it's really society's fault for putting all that shame on moms. And we really need to do better as a whole, you know, as moms, to help support women and support each other. We can't be, you know, criticizing each other for every little thing, like formula feeding or, you know, breastfeeding in public or, you know, whatever it is.
What is something that you wish you would have known before you started breastfeeding?
Oh man. Honestly, the shame that you would get for feeding in public. My first experience with feeding Callie, you know, it was such a big thing at the time, you know, breastfeed your baby, that I thought that if you know, it's not going to be a big deal. I'm going to be able to go out in public, whip my boob out, and people are going to applaud me, you know, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to, you know? And the first time that I ever went out with Mia, or I'm sorry, not Mia, with Callie, there's too many damn kids now. The first time I went out with Callie, she was about 3 months old and she was having a hard time. She was, like, you know, pulling her head back and unlatching, and I would, you know, spray, and it was like really embarrassing, and I was trying to hide, and I had this mom come up to me from behind, and she was really nice at first, and she was offering her help, and she was like, you know, I'll hold this blanket up, you know, and she was trying to be really nice, and then she was standing in front of me, and then she stopped and she turned around after a moment because Callie just wasn't latching. And she said, you know, it would just be easier if you just got a bottle. And I was kind of just like taken back, and I didn't know what to say. You know, I was very young when I had Callie. So I was just like, I'm sorry. I was like, I don't have any bottles with me. You know, we were only supposed to be out for like an hour or something, and I didn't think that she would get hungry. And so I just apologized. And then later I went home and I was like, I can't believe I apologized to her for not having a bottle. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I should be able to feed my baby, you know? And then another experience that I had a few months later, I went to Oregon to go visit my brother. And he worked at a casino down there. And I was standing in hotel registration. So I wasn't even standing in the casino part. Callie ended up getting fussy, and so I slipped off into the bathrooms that were right there and started nursing her. A janitor maid lady came in, and then she left, and I didn't think anything of it. And then I hear security knocking at the door, and he was like, "Ma'am, excuse me, you can't be doing that in there. I need you to leave." And I was like, "I can't be feeding my baby?" And he was like, "Well, you can't be on casino floor with your baby." And I was like, "The casino floor is over there. I'm in hotel registration area, and I'm in the bathroom. There's no like nobody can see me." And he asked me if I had a room, and I said yes. And he told me that we needed to go up to the room, me and my mom. So I was with my mom. So I ended up, again, I was very young, so I was just like, okay. And I just ended up going up into my room. So I wish that somebody would have warned me that people were going to be mean to me. Basically, it's sad. Like I really was not expecting that. And so the first 2 times that I'd went out, you know, and breastfeed and try to breastfeed in public, I had 2 people come up to me and say something, you know. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I just wish they would have warned me about how mean people were going to be. I also didn't know anybody that breastfed any other babies, you know. Like I said, we were all really young when we started having kids. I was one of the very first that started to have kids, and I didn't really have any friends that did. And you know, my mom used formula, so she didn't have any advice there, you know. So yeah, I was the only one trying to, like, you know, and I thought I was doing the right thing, but people are cruel.
It's not like you were sitting in front of a slot machine trying to breastfeed. Like, you were being discreet about it, and it seems like in society everybody's trying to push you into the bathroom to feed anyways. So then you go to the bathroom trying to be discreet, and that's the wrong answer too.
Right, yeah. So after Callie and that incident with the security guard, I quickly, you know, I got pregnant with Junior, and I switched over to formula feeding anyways. And then with Junior, I just made it a point to just never breastfeed in public. And that's sad, to where women are shamed. We feel like we can't go and breastfeed and nourish our kids because somebody's going to have a problem with it.
Right.
And so I would usually go to the bathroom if I was out in public with Junior, or like I said, he was supplemented, so we would just bring formula.
Yeah.
My husband, though, he's feisty. He's a little too feisty sometimes. So there was one time where I was nursing Junior. We were eating. We were at Denny's or something like that. And an old man and an old lady walked by, and he said something under his breath, snarky, about me needing to do that elsewhere. Women nowadays, they need to do that elsewhere. And his wife, you know, hushed him, and Michael got up and was like, "Excuse me, do you have something to say?" So if I'm with him, I'm pretty comfortable because I know he'll have my back. And that's a good thing. Having a support system, a good strong support system with you. You know, it's hard to go out there and do it by yourself. You know, it's hard to sit by yourself and nurse your baby because you really are afraid somebody's going to come up and say something. And I'm not a confrontational person. So some women might not be like, "Oh, I don't care," you know? But me, I'm like, no, please don't say anything to me.
And sitting there with your kid attached to you, already in such a vulnerable position anyways, to have somebody come up and like verbally attack you for feeding your own child. This whole thing is fucking bananas to me, that this is even a conversation that we're having in 2022.
Oh, I know. It blows my mind that people still have a problem with it. And like, you know, the whole TikTok thing. My video was banned. I've had 2 videos banned when I was just talking with, and Mia was feeding. And I don't even show anything. I mean, her entire head is bigger than my boob, you know? I don't have a big boob, like, so it's not like it's showing. And, you know, my shirt covers and, you know, my pants are always up. Like, I don't show any skin. And somehow they've gotten banned. And then the video with Chelsea Handler, like, no hate. She's beautiful. She looks great for almost 50, but are you kidding me?
Right.
You can ski with your tits hanging out and I can't nurse my baby.
Yeah, why is it
ended up getting banned too?
Why is it that society would rather breast be sexualized than used for something like feeding children?
It blows my mind.
Breasts,
I
mean, I guess the visual concept of breasts is exciting for dudes. I don't really understand it. Maybe it's because I have them. Like, you want something you don't have. Maybe that's the whole thing for them.
I guess.
But it doesn't serve any purpose for them.
No.
But it actually feeds children, like the future of humans.
Yeah.
And that's the no-no.
You know, and it blows my mind because I bet you most of these men too, especially the older men, the boomers, I bet you most of them were breastfed. And they're the ones who are like, "Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why do you have that out?" You know, when me and you went to lunch and I had Mia, I ended up taking her to the bathroom because I wasn't even, she was already screaming and causing a scene, you know? And I didn't want to bring any more attention by trying to put her on my boob and, you know, people turn around and look at me and say something.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. And yeah, I'm just the type of person to not want any confrontation. So I will just avoid it at all possible costs.
What were the age groups of the people who have confronted you?
They were all 45 and above.
Okay.
So the very first lady who was trying to be helpful at first and helping me cover and standing in front of me, she was probably the youngest. She was like 47 or something.
Okay.
And then the old man who grunted, he had to be in his 70s. And then the security guard guy, that one was a tricky situation because I don't know if it was the maid that came in the bathroom that had a problem with it or if it was the security officer himself.
Yeah.
The security officer was in his like 40s, but like I said, I don't know if it was him or if it was the lady that walked in because like I said, she had walked in, she had looked at me and she had turned around and she left and she was standing with the security guard after. So I'm not sure.
So on your TikTok, you have openly expressed having depression and talking about your battle with depression. Has your depression ever affected your breastfeeding journey?
I don't think so. No. I would say that I don't think it affected the breastfeeding part, but I do think it affected me connecting with Mia. in the beginning. So even though I was breastfeeding and that's supposed to be helping, I guess, I don't know. It just, I still had a really hard time connecting with her. So at that point, I guess breastfeeding wasn't a bond. It was just to feed her. So, yeah, I don't know. I never went through something like that with either of my kids, with Callie or Michael. With Mia, it was more of like a rage. Like I would get like the littlest things would anger me, like her crying, or the kids asking me for a drink after I had just sat down. Like it would literally enrage me, and I do not know why. And I would just lose it. And it got to the point where I would punch myself in the legs, and like because I had so much anger built up, I didn't know what to do. Like, I can't punch holes in my walls, I can't punch things. I'm not going to hit my children, but I had so much anger, I didn't know what to do. And, I was finally like, I can't, I always thought it was just me. It was just me. I'm just in a bad mood. I'm in a bad mood. I just need to snap out of it. And then my husband was like, you're not like this. Like, this isn't just a bad mood. Like, you're having a really, really, really bad couple months. Like, this isn't normal. And so I finally went and talked to my doctor, and I told him. He was like, so you're depressed? And I was like, no, I'm not depressed. I was like, I'm angry. And he was like, that's depression. And so he put me on medicine, and I think within the first month, I started feeling better after the first month. Like, night and day difference. It was crazy. So now breastfeeding is more of a bonding experience. I enjoy it now. It's not a rushed experience anymore. So I guess, yeah, it did have something to do with my breastfeeding. It did affect it. It's not a rushed experience anymore. It's not, here, I'm going to feed you, and now I'm done. Now I can sit there and hold her and look at her and enjoy it, So I can bond with her a little bit more because I'm calmer.
What was it like for you to get that depression diagnosis?
It was kind of shocking because I really didn't. I convinced myself that when I went to the doctor, he was just going to tell me that I'm just in a bad mood. And so when he sat there and he told me, he was like, no, that's depression. I was like, I was relieved, but I was also surprised. Like, maybe if I would have known, because I've never heard of postpartum rage before. He had told me about it. Never. Maybe if I would have known 2 or 3 months ago, I could have bonded with Mia at 2 months instead of at 6 months and 7 months, So I was kind of relieved that, there's a cure for me. I'm not just having a bad day. But I was also kind of like, why isn't this talked about more? Like, why isn't this mentioned in the hospitals? Like, you guys talk about postpartum depression, but I've never once heard you guys talk about postpartum rage or being angry. And they make you take classes, after you have birth, before you can even leave the hospital. And I've had 3 kids in all different hospitals, and never once have they talked about that. So it was kind of like, why? Like, that made me angry. I could have gotten help a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But no, I sat at home thinking there's something, I'm just in a bad mood, and I just needed to snap out of it when I could have gotten help the whole time.
Yeah, and that's something like we've all heard of the term like baby blues when it comes to like being hormonal and everything being postpartum, but I think not enough people talk about the rage that sometimes comes with giving birth. And fortunately, you didn't get to the point where you would ever hurt your children. But I think there are moms who end up snapping and hurting their babies. And it's for a completely preventable reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if we were taught like it's okay to be angry, sometimes you're going to feel like murdering your husband because now there's a child and you're hormonal and you're sleep deprived and all of that's normal. And this person that you love more than anything that you made these vows to will sometimes be the enemy. And sometimes you're going to hate yourself and you're going to want to hurt yourself. But this is what to look out for. I think we would have less moms hurting themselves or hurting their children.
Yeah, like I said, I've always had a very good childhood, and I've never self-harmed. I've never done anything like that. Typical teenage stuff, go to parties, but I've never experimented with hardcore drugs. I've always been very smart. So when the hurting myself, I would hurt myself and then I would feel so guilty for hurting myself. Mm-hmm. Like, why would I do that to myself? Because then I would be in pain after too. My thighs would hurt, my legs would hurt, and I would be like, why am I doing this to myself? And I would get mad, and then I'd have my mother-in-law asking me, like, what's wrong with your legs? What'd you do? And then, I'm carrying the car seat down, and and now I'm embarrassed. And so there was a lot of shame that came with it, and I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody, and I didn't know how to talk to anybody. I couldn't even talk to my own mom.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law too, she's like a mom to me. She's, we're very close, and I couldn't even talk to her about it, and my husband, I just thought he would be, I don't know, he would be embarrassed, or he would just be like, why are you doing that? I thought he would judge me, but he's very supportive, and I should have opened up to him a lot sooner too, because he was the one who was like, it's not a bad day. You need to go. Something's wrong.
I'm really sorry you went through that. That just sounds really isolating and lonely. And even though we have other moms, like, you want to believe that your other mom friends aren't going to judge you, right? Because we've all gone through the same thing. Right. We've all had weird experiences postpartum. It's hard to know what we can get away with talking about, because is this normal, or are they going to think I'm crazy?
That's the thing too. And I didn't want to go and tell my doctor and him be like, well, do we need to get you mental help? And I didn't want him to like check me in a hospital and
right.
take my kids from me. And, so that was a lot of it too. And, you don't want to think that your other friends would judge you, but
right.
then you sit there and you're like, yeah, I screamed at my child for asking for something to drink. I told him to get out of my face for asking me to get something to drink.
Yeah.
When somebody's like, oh, how's breastfeeding going? I want her off of me. I don't like feeding her. You don't, it's hard. Like, how is a mom going to look at you and be like, you don't like breastfeeding your own child? No, I don't.
Right.
So it's hard. And, I didn't want, and that's the thing too. And everybody would be like, oh, you can come talk to me. You can talk to me. You can talk to me. And I was struggling, and they would know, but I wouldn't want to,
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, a part of it too. The depression is not reaching out and talking to your friends. I feel like maybe if I did, others would have noticed too. Like, you would have said, Tara, that's not normal. You should probably go get help, But instead it was just like, oh, I'm okay. Thanks. I'll be fine. I'll feel better,
Mm-hmm.
So
in your opinion, what can we, as moms, do to bring awareness to like postpartum rage and that kind of stuff? Like, how do we normalize that? How do we get that information out there for new moms?
Well, that's the wonderful thing about living in today's age with social media and stuff like that. We just have to be advocates. And, that's where a lot of our young women who are going to be moms, that's what they look at. They look at social media. They look at, Instagram. They're on TikTok, and I feel like if we can talk about it openly on the internet, all of these girls will know that it's okay. And then maybe they can have those conversations with their doctors,
Yeah.
And also just doctors too, hospitals. I don't know how we can get them to talk about it more, but it needs to be talked about more. And my doctor even said that um, he doesn't have very many people come in and say they have rage. He said I believe he said it was 1 in 8 women will have postpartum rage. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's scary because that's kind that's a lot of women
Right.
for it to not be known about.
Mm-hmm.
How many women are walking around silently, not like just so scared to talk about it? You know what I'm
Yeah, or
saying?
like basically ticking time bombs. Like at some point, if they don't get help, then what? It's not going to
Exactly.
go away.
It's not. And it's just going to build up and it's just going to get worse. And, that's probably why a lot of moms take their lives too. The suicide
Mm-hmm.
rates for moms are high. And it's just, yeah, it's doctors need to do a better job with it.
Yeah.
And my doctor even said that after our conversation, and he was like, I wish you would have came to me sooner. And I said, well, I didn't know it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, then I guess it's my fault, isn't it? And I was like, well, it's not your fault. And he was like, no, it is. He was like, I should have, we come in and we give you this paper after you get out of the hospital, and we just ask, do you cry? Are you sad? Are you sadder than usual? But we don't ask you, like, are you angry?
Mm-hmm.
We don't tell you that you can get angry, you know?
Yeah.
So,
What to look out for.
yeah.
I
So
think it is really great that you have made the TikToks that you have and basically put a face to um, your struggles. Like, because we've seen on your TikTok your journey from postpartum depression and things like that to now being a mom who likes breastfeeding and is an advocate for women who breastfeed. And you're going to school, you have a happy family. Like, it's good for people to see who are in like the thick shit of it, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is an other side. And I think
yeah.
you're a great face for that, because everybody who follows you, and you have a lot of like loyal fans on TikTok, have seen you go from like really struggling and battling this to being happy again, and seeing that like light return to your face in the videos.
Yeah. And like I said, the breastfeeding, wasn't always joy. It wasn't always a good time, and people, oh, you're so lucky that you're able to breastfeed, and you have no problems. And what's wrong with me because I'm not enjoying this?
Mm-hmm.
I I wish I would give up and just do formula. And there was a lot of times I wish I did.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't give up, and I stuck with it, because now it's much more enjoyable. I can sit there and I can look at her and stroke her hair and watch her fall asleep, and it's not a rushed thing anymore, and I can actually enjoy sitting with her. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
before it was just, can you please hurry up and eat so I can just be done, so you can just get off me?
Yeah.
Like, that was rough.
So many moms who are unable to or make the choice not to breastfeed sometimes get the comment, the breast is best, like what you were talking about earlier.
Okay.
As a nursing mom, do you agree with that statement, or how would you respond if you heard that being said to a formula mom?
I do not agree with that at all. I think, fed is best, whatever you want to do. I breastfeed because I can, and it's easy for me to do it. And that's what works for me right now. If I was working, I've gotten the privilege to stay home now and raise Mia. Before, when I was working with Junior, like I said, I couldn't breastfeed and work, trying to pump, and it was just too much to strictly just give him breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to supplement with formula. And some moms are just too busy to even breastfeed at home, and that's perfectly okay. The shame that formula moms get break my heart, because it just, they don't deserve it, and that's what works best for them. And you know like I said, that just all goes back to, we just need to support each other better.
Yeah, for
It's,
sure.
but fed is best. I know fed is necessary, but it doesn't matter how your child is fed. If you feed them at the end of the day and they're loved and they are taken care of, that's all that should matter,
Yeah.
honestly.
When I was going through my battle with breastfeeding, and I use battle because it was more mental torture than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I vented about it on Facebook, and one of my good family friends told me, you would not be able to tell which one of my kids was breastfeed and who wasn't.
Exactly.
And that really stuck with me. Like, you don't walk into a kindergarten classroom and you're like, oh, I can, pick out which ones are breastfed. Like, all kids develop different stages. It really, other than like the nutrients and the vitamins and like the genuine benefits that come from breast milk, which I'm all for. Breastfeeding your kid does not make them a genius.
Exactly.
I wish it did, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. And honestly, they all grow up to just,
eat crayons.
Eat crayons. My kid, he ate a Sensi cube just a while ago. He was like, Mom, this fudge is gross. I was like, what fudge? He's like, this fudge. I'm like, that's a Sensi cube. First of all, God, that's disgusting. Like, so, and my kids, they ask for cereal 5 times a day,
Yeah.
If I ask them what they want for breakfast, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be cereal. If I ask them what they want for a snack, it's going to be, can I have brownies? Can I have cookies? No kid is going to be like, can I have a celery stick, please?
Right.
Like, so it's great. The breast milk is great and it's wonderful, but it really, honestly, it doesn't matter. If that baby is growing and they're getting chunky and cute, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And whatever works for you mentally too.
Yep.
If breastfeeding is mentally taking a toll on you, like you said, it was a battle, then don't do it anymore. Don't worry about like your body failing you or, what people are going to say. It's you're happy and your baby is happy.
Yeah, exactly. And I just got to the point where I was like, just feeling so shitty about myself. And I finally just took a second and was like, you know what? I have 18 years to feel mom guilt. And if I'm starting right now when he's 3 months old, I'm not going to survive to 18 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I will be so burnt out and hating myself by then because of all the things that I could have, should have, would have done. This can't be one of those things. Like, he's a happy kid. He sleeps through the night. He started sleeping through the night at like 8 weeks. He was just like, he was such a perfect baby. And my body didn't want to cooperate. Like, I was not about to let that rob me of that newborn joy,
Right. And that's you know what? That I will say, that is a perk about formula fed babies. One, they will go to pretty much anybody and be fed by anybody. And they sleep through the night. Most of them do. Mia still wakes up 4 or 5 times a night. It's insane how much she wakes up. I'm just like, oh my gosh. It makes me sometimes want to switch to formula because, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
What do you think we as a society can do differently to redirect the narrative that breasts are used for feeding babies and not necessarily to be sexualized?
Get rid of men. No, I'm just kidding. We can't do that. So, we just have to stay strong. We have to, there's always going to be that one person out there that's going to say something about it. It helps when you have strong-willed women. I'm I get nervous in public. It's nice when we can have somebody who's gung-ho about it and like doesn't care. They'll rip their whole entire shirt off and feed their baby. Also I feel like just influencers too. Chrissy Teigen's a big one. She breastfed her kids and she always posted about it. She was very open about it. So I feel like if the celebrities, social media influencers like I said, those people are going to have big impacts on all these women growing up and all these people growing up. And, you know, we just need to, you know, just be strong in it and just not let anybody tell us to put our boobs away because we're feeding our kid, and get over it, you know?
Yeah. So I want to bring up some of the comments I got the other night. I posted on social media looking for like breastfeeding horror stories, basically. I wanted to know what was being said to women.
Oh my.
So I'm going to share a couple of these. One mom was told about how disgusting and disrespectful she was and that she should do that in the bathroom. One mom took her little girl to this Sacramento zoo and sat down to have some lunch and was ready to nurse her baby. She said, I had a cover and was getting ready, and some guy at a table behind us saw what I was doing because I was facing him. He freaked out and was saying, oh, no way, no way, and then switched seats so his back was to me.
Oh my gosh.
I thought dudes liked boobs.
Unless they're being used because they like to sexualize boobs. So.
Yeah. So when it's leaky boobs, then we're out.
Leaky boobs, that's gross.
Peace out.
Right?
Another mom said she was at the high school. So she had a senior in high school, and then she also had a 3-month-old. And she said, yes, I'm that crazy bitch that started over. She said, I found a dark hallway in a high school during a state wrestling tournament. I thought I was safe to nurse in private, no high school boys around, when all of a sudden a set of double doors bursted open and every high schooler wrestler from the state poured out. I got a lot of high fives and a lot of nice titties, Mrs. J. They were all amazing, and my oldest was mortified, but the baby ate and we all lived through. Breastfeeding is natural and beautiful. Whip them titties out and feed them babies, ladies. And then she also said maybe, because I said, I'm sure you made some boys' day. She said, hopefully, but they all seemed strangely okay with it. Maybe the whole normalizing breastfeeding movement is actually working, and our future men and fathers will be cool as fuck.
See?
I hope so.
Media. Yeah. Making it more, known.
Yeah. And if I ever, having boys kind of gives you, this whole new perspective of, the generation that we're raising. Mm-hmm. If I were to ever catch my teenage boys making comments or something to a mom who is breastfeeding, it's going to be an embarrassing day for them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I will tell all of his friends about how he used to have titties in his mouth as a baby, too. So...
They were forced in your mouth, child. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So another mom said that nothing was ever really said to her, but the looks were really mean. She didn't do it in public a whole lot because she was nursing twins, but she would get a lot of hateful looks. Another mom said that she nursed both of her boys up to around 18 months and would get the whole, aren't they getting too old for that? Or they eat solid food now, they don't need a boob anymore, that kind of stuff. And again, if it's not your tits, it's not your fucking business, honestly.
I've had people make that comment where I've mentioned that Mia was getting teeth. And, oh, since she's getting teeth, are you going to stop breastfeeding now? What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than I don't want my nipples bit.
Exactly.
That might be my only hindrance. But otherwise, babies will tell you when they're done. They're not going to go into kindergarten, first grade, still wanting to breastfeed, right? Or maybe I'm ignorant. That's kind of a question, I guess.
I'm going to breastfeed Mia as long as she wants to, because Junior pushed me away.
Yeah.
He was no more. He was 15 months old and I'm done, I would try to be come here, let's, and I'd pick him up and sit down and he would wiggle right off me and be no. And pull my shirt back down. He was done.
Yeah.
Put those things away. No more.
I don't know of any middle schoolers that are still breastfeeding.
Exactly.
So I mean, your kids are going to tell you when they're done, and there's nothing wrong with going as long as they want.
Exactly. If it comforts them, it comforts them, and why does it bother? Right. John Doe over here.
Yeah. So the last comment I got was basically how you were talking about earlier, having Mike around. Nobody's really going to say anything when your husband's around, right? Because they're not in the vulnerable position like you are. They're not as easy to attack. So there was another mom that said, nobody's going to say anything when my husband's around. So that's good, I guess.
Mike
Use
always
the
looks like
men
he's in a bad mood.
against themselves.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mike's very, everybody always thinks he's unhappy. Everybody's always like, is he okay? Like, yeah, he's great. He's in such a good mood right now. They're like, really? Can't tell. So he looks grumpy all the time. So people don't really talk to us very much when we're out.
Which can be a good thing.
Can be a good thing sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Especially now with the pandemic and stuff, when you're walking out in public and you don't really want people coming up to you or like walking near your kids, it helps to have somebody that doesn't look super friendly.
And he looks like a bank robber too, because he'll have his black hat on and then he's got his big black sunglasses and his mask. He still wears his mask everywhere. I'm like,
oh, so everybody's just wondering if they're about to get mugged.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm like, at least let people see your eyes. Take the hat off at least. Show some skin. Jeez.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll wrap this up with what kind of advice do you have for women who are shamed in public for breastfeeding?
Don't take it personal. They are, you know, I'm not the type of person to confront somebody or to, you know, lash out. And if you're not either, then, you know, that's fine. Do what makes you comfortable. If, you know, there's family restrooms now, you know, that are big and, you know, nice, and they have chairs, and, you know, if you feel more comfortable, go sit in one of those. You know, if you need to go to the car and do it, go to the car and do it. But if you know, do end up nursing and sitting down in public and somebody says something or you get a look, don't take it personal, because it's not you, and it's them, and you are giving your baby the absolute best that you can. You're doing what you're supposed to as a mom. You're feeding your baby. That's all that matters. You know, at the end of the day, they're not going to be there. You don't have to talk to them, you know?
Yeah.
So just ignore them. And then that's easier said than done, but a year from now, you're not going to remember them.
Yeah.
You know? So they're not going to remember
I think we would make a lot of headway if every person who told a breastfeeding mom that they needed to cover up then also had to cover up when they were eating.
I just hand somebody a blanket.
Yeah. Be like, okay, put this over your face and you can try to eat like that.
I'm just going to start like putting their mask up over their eyes.
Yeah.
You know? Here you go.
Well, especially here in the Vegas heat, like it's hot without anything on your face.
Oh,
and then you're going to put a blanket over their face?
No, and they actually tell you not to cover your car seats with blankets in the summer and things like that, because you can trap so much heat in there. So
yeah,
it's sweaty in there. We're not putting a cover over that. I'm gonna let it breathe. I have to. Like I said, if somebody has something to say, well then I'm sorry.
I'm always amazed at moms that can breastfeed without, like, that can breastfeed discreetly. And just like you with like your TikTok videos, how Mia was eating and you couldn't even see your breast or anything. You could just see her head. Yeah. On my very short, I think I breastfed for 4 months, tried to, as best as I could. For that very short 4 months, there was no being discreet about it. I wasn't wearing a bra, and I was wearing these like moo nightgowns. And every time I had to try to feed Jameson, the whole gown came up. So my belly, I mean, everything's just hanging out because I could not figure out how to be modest about it. Hey, imagine if I had to try to do that out in public, like the whole tits coming out, and then I got to try to adjust Jameson sitting there with my boob out. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's also, it's a lot of outfit planning before I go out. Yeah. Like dresses, nope. Yeah. Cannot wear a dress unless it can pull down. But I don't want to stretch my holes out, like the neck hole out, you know? So yeah. Don't want to stretch it down that far. So usually dresses, nope. I don't wear dresses out in public. Yeah. Jackets, hoodies, big bulky things like that, that's hard, you know? So it's a lot of leggings, and I think people would say Tara, do you even own any t-shirts? Because I'm always wearing my husband's t-shirts. I think everybody at the bus stop is always like, I'm always in his t-shirt and his big jacket. They're like, is that your jacket? Nope, it's my husband's. Is it? Because he doesn't ever wear it.
Honestly, men's t-shirts are just much more comfortable. And if my husband listens to this episode, he's going to absolutely roll his eyes when you just said that, because he gets so annoyed. I wear his t-shirts every day, all day. Don't give a shit. I will go right into his dresser, no shame, and start pulling t-shirts out. And I get a comment about it every day. I think I've gotten a comment about it every day for the last 5 years we've been together.
My husband just...
I'm like, this is our t-shirt.
Right. I watched it. I can wear it.
Yeah, right? I folded it. I put it in the dresser. That's how I knew where to go looking for it.
Exactly.
So, and it's just comfier. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
You know?
So, every day I get a glare when I come down the stairs and he's like, go put on a different shirt. I'm like, well, I can, but, you know, it's going to be another one of your shirts. So.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Especially being pregnant now, like I'm bloated and I feel gross and I don't want anything like really touching my belly, and big baggy t-shirts is where it's at. So,
yep, 24/7.
Yeah, for sure.
Just buy more men t-shirts.
Yeah, for
don't
sure.
Even buy t-shirts for me anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna start shopping in the men's department at the stores, and then he's not allowed to wear my shirts.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your night. I thought I heard Mia crying a little bit ago, and I'm like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, she was. She's downstairs as house echoes, but I think her dad took her for a walk because now I don't hear anybody. So,
aw. You'll have to bring her by here soon because she's getting so big.
I know. Yeah, she actually likes to be out now, and she doesn't scream. So we'll have to try again.
To IHOP.
Right, yes.
Thanks for spending time with us. I hope you share this episode with any new moms who may need to hear that they aren't alone in their feelings. Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram @PinkPlusPodcast, and if you're an Apple user, please leave a